Lieutenant Kayla Miller with Michiana Crime Stoppers joining me. I feel like it has been so long because like I've been off and then you were sick. So it's nice to actually sit down and be with you again.
It is so nice. I was going to tell you the same thing. It was so nice to actually be able to sit down and talk again about some of these cases.
Yeah.
And so again, it's the best part of my week and my Monday.
I love that. Yeah. And I'm so appreciative because you guys, if you have not been to their Facebook page or their Twitter page, I love that you guys are constantly putting up videos or even photos because that's what was able to get us through the last couple of Mondays is because you have surveillance video up there, you have photos up there. So hopefully that helped. But if you haven't checked out their page, make sure you check it out. This homicide, actually, it's kind of a two for one almost. And it's really a devastating story because it involves a family that lost two individuals. So, which one do you want to start with?
Um, you're right, Christine. I think that, and I want to say thank you from the start for letting us share the story because, as you mentioned, we're talking about a family that lost two loved ones, not by accident, but they both had their lives taken from them way too soon,
Yeah.
and the tragedy and the trauma that this family's had to endure. I know we're seeing a family now in our community
Yeah.
that's going through this, and it just we're the family we're going to talk about right now is the Bailey family, and we're looking at the anniversary dates of their loved ones being taken from them. In fact, it's a brother and sister. So we'll start with Leah Bailey. It was May 29th of 2000, around 10:30 p.m. in the 1100 block of Queen Street. Apparently, there was a fight that broke out. There was a lot of commotion, and ultimately, a gun battle ensued. And Leah was caught in the midst of that, and ultimately was killed. Again, does not appear that she had anything to do with the fight itself. She wasn't part of the gun battle, but yet an innocent life taken in the midst of that. And at the time, we'll talk a little bit about Leah here later on, but I want to jump to kind of what happened next. And it's terrifying and sad to know that 15 years later, almost to the same day,
Mm.
this is May 17th, so just a week shy of that anniversary for Leah, her brother Giuseppe was killed as well. And that case is, again, a South Bend case in May 17th of 2015. It was around 10 p.m. South Bend Police Department was called to the area of 300 Manchester for reports of a man down. When officers arrived, they thought it was a medical condition. They were trying to assess him, and as they found Giuseppe and was trying to provide life-saving measures, they found that he had been shot and he died on scene. Leah, at the time that she was killed, was young. I think she was 24. Giuseppe was 41. He was a little bit older. But again, we're talking about just 15 years apart, the same month. We're looking at one anniversary date just happened. We have another one coming up. And just the heartbreak that this family's had to go through is just devastating.
Yeah. I mean, before we kind of go into like them a little bit, because I love that you actually give us a little bit more insight in who these individuals are. The case about Leah, we're looking at about 22 years ago, this happened. Still, nothing has come forward leading you to who killed her. But this is one of those situations, again, where multiple people were there, right? You said there was a gun exchange, she was hit in the crossfire. That means that at least two individuals who were in that battle are out in our community and know who was involved, and they're just not coming forward.
And I'll take it a step further is that from what we know is that there was multiple people outside, not just those involved in the
Mm.
gun battle. So we have witnesses in that area. I mean, it has been 22 years. It is time for you to come
Time.
forward. It's time for you to share the piece of the puzzle that you have so we can bring some closure to this family.
And 22 years, what was it? Michiana Crime Stoppers started 30,
Fine.
39 years ago. So maybe it was one of those scenarios. Machine of Crime Stoppers was still newer. We don't have the technology we do today. There's no excuse now because you have so many avenues. You can call, you can go on your phone and easily go through the P3 app, like go to the website. Like there are just so many ways for you to remain anonymous. Like give this family some peace. It's been 22 years.
Yes, and I would say a message to anyone who maybe knows something, or if you were there, from the depths of our hearts, you're in a different place now.
Yes.
If you were 20 years old, then I mean, you're in a different place,
Yes.
more mature, you're older, you just have progressed in life, and it's time for you to kind of give that weight and let that weight be lifted off of your shoulders of knowing that you have information. Again, Crime Stoppers is completely anonymous. We're not saying you have to go to the police department and give a
No.
statement. We're just asking that if you know something, at least provide it to Crime Stoppers so we can give it to law enforcement and they can work this case and try to find some answers for the family.
Yeah. And, I love that you said that because 22 years is a long time. And so you're talking about not only the shooter, but the people who may have been there, right? You get it. You're young, you're scared, you're probably traumatized by what happened. 22 years later, maybe you can now say, okay, I'm ready to say something. I'm older, I'm wiser, like I can come forward. This family deserves it. Maybe you have kids. Maybe you're sitting there looking at your kids saying, all I would want if something happened to them was someone to come forward. And now you can do that for another family because they need it.
They do. And I'm glad that you brought up kids because both Leah and Giuseppe had children when
Mm,
they were killed. Leah had two children. They were ages 4 and 5 when she was taken from them. And again, as you said, if you have children, and can you imagine being taken from them and them having to grow up without knowing their mother? And at 4 and 5, they're so young, so incredibly young. And from what family says, Leah was completely in their life every day. She was a great mother to them. And just one day she's gone.
mm,
And Giuseppe was a little bit older when he died.
yeah.
He was 41, but he had two children as well. They were 11 and 8 when he was killed. And again, so now we have 4 children just from these two incidents that grew up without their parent in their life. um Talking with, and then Leah and Giuseppe had a couple siblings as well, and then their mother. As a mother, I don't know how you grieve the loss of one child, let alone the loss of a second, and especially that close together, the same time frame, 15 years apart. It's heartbreaking is what it is.
And Giuseppe's case is a little bit interesting. So they were basically just called because somebody obviously saw him laying on the ground, and then they think it's originally a medical emergency. It turns out it's not. That's got to be so difficult because, it's so different from kind of a shootout that happens in front of several people, right?
So what we know is that Giuseppe family would call him Pepe. His nickname was Pepe, and so Pepe would like to go out and go for walks, especially in the evenings. And that was kind of an area that he would normally walk. Neighbors said that they'd seen him in the area before, so it wasn't out of the ordinary for him to be there. But ultimately, we know that someone approached Giuseppe and shot and killed him right there in that area. The why and the who, we still need to find out.
Yeah, so we're talking 2015. We just passed that anniversary. So any information, Michiana Crime Stoppers, no matter how small or how large, again, it's just about really one, doing the right thing, but two, bringing really some closure. It's never going to make up for what these families go through, but at least maybe there is a little bit of, we say rest in peace. Maybe they can finally rest in peace, right, with all this.
And something that we unfortunately have had to talk about a lot lately with current cases, when we're talking with families, is we use the word closure a lot, and that closure for everyone is different. We've talked about my story before, and, maybe not having a resolution in court, or maybe having that resolution in the court system. And sometimes it's just closure can be knowing that police are still working, that we're
Right.
still trying, that their message or that their story is still being told and they're not forgotten. So when we say that we're trying to bring closure for our families, every single family is different, every single individual is different. But at the end of the day, that knowing that we're still working as a community to remember our victims, remember Leah and Giuseppe, and plead with the community that if you do know something, say something. There's avenues for you to do that. There's ways for you to do that through Crime Stoppers, that you're protected and you don't have to worry about being judged.
Yeah.
Nobody's judging you for holding on to a piece of information for 20 years. We just ask that you bring that information forward.
Yeah, it's time. It's time to let that off your chest. And I'm happy that you said that, because I do, and that's what this segment truly is about. One, hoping to solve some unsolved cases for sure. But the other is really to say, like, we see you. We haven't forgotten you. Like, yes, maybe that happened 20 years ago. Yes, maybe that happened, 7 years ago, but we still see you and we're still going to talk about you. And that's why I keep saying to individuals who watch this, if there is a case, it doesn't have to be South Bend. It can be anywhere. Michiana Crime Stoppers works with every county interviewing there. If there's a case that you want highlighted, that it's time to bring some more light to it, that's what this segment is all about, with the hope of, like, somebody, just that one person is going to see this and be, as you mentioned, that missing puzzle piece, because that'll be a whole lot.
It is. And you look at just such a young life with Leah, 24, two children, 15 years later, her older brother, again, two children that he's got. This family has been through so much, and it's the least that we can do as a community is to hear their story, share their story, and hope that someone who sees this says, you know what, I know something and I'm going to come forward.
It's time. And there's so many different ways. Right on your screen, you have the number, you have the website, you have the app. Again, 100% anonymous. So easy to do the right thing. And again, no one's going to know. No one's going to know that you did this. You only get identified by a tip number, and that's it. You won't know, Kayla. I won't know. Only the bank won't know when they collect their reward, because obviously there is a reward attached to this. No one will know.
And I'm glad you mentioned the reward. Just to reiterate, I know we've talked about it before, but I will say it again, that each one of these cases has got a reward of up to $2,500 if your information leads to the solving or the arrest in one of these cases. While it doesn't, we don't know that there's any real connection between the two. There's not anything that leads us to believe that. Obviously, we would look into that if information came that direction, but each one of these cases are individual cases. And so there is a reward for each one of them. Again, just so important for us to continue to work together as a community. We see the gun violence, we see the violence in general, and it takes all of us. It takes law enforcement, it takes the community members, it takes our media partners, it takes all of us working together to ensure that not only are we getting the information out there, but we're looking to work together to make it better. And ultimately, that's what we're trying to do.